episode 6 of Pakistan Academy of Sciences Agriculture debate. Today I have with me co-host Tariq Javed, and we are holding this event with a major collaboration from Fauji Fertilizer. We're touching a very serious issue of zinc. As many of you are aware that Pakistan has probably a proportion of malnourished population, particularly women and children. And in our malnourishment, we have all challenges of calories, of protein, of vitamins and minerals. And among minerals, zinc and iron are two major crisis elements. We will discuss this zinc as an issue of crop deficiency, particularly with reference to wheat, which is our staple food. And there are studies which tell us that people who have diversity in diet, they suffer less. However, whatever reason we want to give it, our staple remains wheat, and wheat-dependent population alone is having probably the biggest deficiencies of these two micro or trace elements. Today we have a very distinguished panel. I'll introduce our chief guest and then I'll request Tariq to introduce his management from FFC, and then that will be followed by an introduction of our keynote speakers. Our chief guest of the day is Dr. Kausar Abdullah Malik. Dr. Malik has one of the most distinguished career in our active scientific community. Malik Saab founded NIPG, served as chairman Pakistan Agriculture Research Council, then member administration and biosciences at Pakistan Atomic Energy Commission, and finally his service with the government was as member food security at the Planning Commission of Pakistan. For last 12 years, Dr. Malik has been associated with the FC College University in Lahore, where he did a stellar job. And in recognition of his services, of course, all kinds of decorations by the government, but to us, the most significant recognition of his work is that FC College administration has named a building after Dr. Kausar Abdullah Malik. I can keep on talking, but I need to tell you that I have personal reasons to celebrate his successes, because I'm here largely because of his personal interest in my return to Pakistan when he got me appointed as Director NIAB. Dr. Malik has done a significant research on iron bioavailability, particularly in wheat, and part of that research was funded through Center for Advanced Studies in Food Security, which I used to run. And today we will benefit from his presence, and we will at the end look forward to having his word of wisdom. With these opening remarks, I will hand over to Tariq, and Tariq, please go ahead and introduce your management line.
Thank you, Dr. Saab. Ladies and gentlemen, I am Tariq Javed from Fauji Fertilizers, Multan. I would like to welcome everybody here today for the next 1.5 hours. I will be the co-host with Dr. Saab for today's webinar. To make it more understandable and more productive, I would like to request Dr. Saab to allow us, if somebody wants to talk in Urdu or would like to talk in English, he may be allowed. With prior excuse from our foreigner colleagues, I will request the presenters, please be specific and keep in mind the time allocated already. Ladies and gentlemen, as you know, FFC is the biggest fertilizer manufacturing as well as fertilizer marketing company in Pakistan, which contributes approximately 50% of the fertilizers that are being consumed in our country. I will request Mr. Muhammad Ali Janjua, Head of Sales Central Zone, to present introduction of the fertilizer company and the projects being managed for the prosperity of the country. But before he starts his presentation, I would like to give a brief introduction of Muhammad Ali Janjua, Head of Sales, Sector Zone. He has very vast, rich, and versatile experience of 28 years in the fertilizer company, marketing for fertilizers. He has expertise in planning, distribution, warehousing, and currently he's looking after the most crucial and most versatile market of Central Zone, which is more, as you know, this is the most, I can say, economic zone for all of the fertilizer companies. So he has to compete with his competitors in a very versatile matter. At the same time, he's also very much interested to promote the fertilizer in our country. Now, I would request him to please give his introduction of the fertilizer company and the projects being managed by the company for the nation. Sir.
Thank you very much, Tariq sir. Dr. Kausar Malik Saab, I would like to welcome you here and special thanks to Dr. Ikrar for holding such a prestigious event for Pakistanis, having the international speakers available to us. And above all, it's all about having food security for our country with better nutrients, and the deficiencies that we have found in our food have been looked after in this seminar. I'll take a few moments, rather few minutes, to introduce my company, Fauji Fertilizer Company, who is the co-host of this event. I hope I'm audible to everyone.
Yes, sir, you're audible. I would request all other participants to mute their mics so that we could get a better quality of voice.
Fauji Fertilizer Company is the largest fertilizer manufacturing and marketing company of Pakistan. The company was incorporated in 1978 and its production started in 1982. The company is operating 3 urea plants at the moment with an annual production capacity of about 2.5 million tons of urea. FFC also has the honor of being the sole entity in the country producing DAP and granular urea through its subsidiary called Fauji Fertilizer bin Qasim Limited. While doing all this business, we have the honor of being #1 company in our stock exchange for the last 9 consecutive years. चलो ठीक है भाई इसमें ठीक है यहाँ पे आ रही है
आपकी वीडियो नहीं आ रही योर वीडियो इज ऑफ
it's fine it's fine मैं चलते अब वहाँ पे आ गया
Janjua sir, you are okay. अगर आप वीडियो ऑन कर लेंगे तो आ जाएगी, otherwise you are audible. Please carry on.
We have the honor of marketing different nutrients in our country, and we enjoy a market share of around 50% in our country for all nutrients. FFC keeps on investing in our country We have diverse investments. We have the honor of being the first wind energy producer in the country. We started off with a 50 megawatt plant at Jhimpir, Thatta, which was the first one in our country. Now we have many producers in our country who have followed us. We started production in 2012. We have stakes in our other businesses as well. We acquired Askari Bank. We are doing the banking business as well since 2013. We have spread this bank into all the rural areas. Now we are providing services to the farmers and the backward areas of the country as well. While doing this business of fertilizers, we felt the need of creating some facility for the farmers, because our farmers were not getting good returns on their inputs or their produce. So we have started a project in Pakistan which is called Fauji Fresh and Freeze. This is a state-of-the-art individual quick frozen fruit and vegetable processing plant. By doing this, I would say we have started to buy different commodities produced by our farmers, and they are being processed in Pakistan, and we are into the export businesses as well. So please. We have our international exposures as well in the shape of Park Maroc, which is a subsidiary of FFBL. We produce phosphoric acid in Morocco. It is with a Moroccan company. It's a joint venture between a Morocco company and Pakistan. And we are bringing our raw material from Morocco to Karachi and produce DAP in Pakistan with the help of this plant. We also have investments in HUBCO, which is producing energy in the country. And we are amongst the few people who are working in Thar coal project. At the same time, we are into the cement business. Fauji Cement also has some investments from our side. Now I'll come to the main functions that FFC's core business is basically, as I have already explained, marketing, sales and distribution, FFC's fertilizers to the whole of the country. And we also import and export the fertilizers when required. And in order to have reach to our end users, we have our support functions called Agri Services Department. We have 5 Agri Services Centers spread all over the country, and our team is placed all over the country in the districts as well, providing agri support services to the farmers. We have a vast dealer network of 3,500 dealers spread over 63 districts in the country. And we have 13 regions which are managed by 3 zones, north, center, south. And we have 3 plant locations. As I've already explained, 2 are at Gotmachi, 1 near Mathelo, and our subsidiary FFBL is located at Karachi. We have been taking a lead role in the agriculture and industrial development by delivering premium products and services while maintaining a high level of social and environmental responsibility for all the stakeholders. When we talk about the different nutrients, as you can see from the picture, from the importance of nitrogen, phosphorus, potash, zinc, and boron. We are into every nutrient. And if we club them together, we have a volume of around 4 million tons that we market every year of these different nutrients. Please. While doing business, we have not forgotten our the sustainable development goals and our environmental responsibilities. We are very clear about these things that if the farmer of this country is prosperous, we are going to be prosperous. So in order to get that goal achieved, we have set certain goals like that of United Nations, that we have to bring our farmer out of poverty. If he is out of poverty, he's going to invest in different businesses and he's going to bring this country out of difficulties. So to get that thing, we are into the support to education of the farmers. We are helping the farmers to have better clean water for their consumption as well as for their crops. And in the slides to come, I'll explain how we are going about this thing. Our Agriculture Services Department is constantly working on improving the lives of our farmers, and by increasing their productivity and by giving them better technology know-how, we are increasing their income. Corporate social responsibility is vital and withstanding element of FFC business operations. The company takes pride in the fact that we stand as the pioneers of sustainable and responsible business practices in Pakistan. As our first CSR program, that is Capacity Building Farmers, was launched in 1982. On the onset, moving through the decades, the company has diversified and magnified its CSR portfolio, turning it into a crucial and centric part of business strategy. With a commitment to sustainable business operations, responsible business practices, and fulfilling our obligation towards our community, FFC Standard contributes 1% of our profit before tax to corporate social responsibility. We have established a state-of-the-art center at Ahmedpur Lama, District Rahim Yar Khan, providing all facilities under one umbrella for farming community in the vicinity. These are the few glimpses that we do in our CSR activities. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Thank you, Juwan Saab. Ji, Tarak, you have one more introduction to make. Hey, Tarak.
Assalamualaikum, Dr. Sir. Thank you.
Please go ahead. We have to move fast because time is running out. Where is your next speaker? Tarak? It seems Tarak is not listening. Let me move on and introduce to you our keynote speakers. We have with us a very distinguished professor from University of Lancashire, Nicole Louis. Nicole has a massive career in human nutrition, and particularly she has been working in malnutrition suffering population of KPK, and she has done some empirical research on improving our diets with reference to zinc. Other speakers are Munir Zia, who is representing Fauji Fertilizer. He is also affiliated with University of Nottingham. Munir Zia will be talking about zincated urea, very interesting concept that if we could include zinc application along with urea, because urea is ubiquitous. We have with us Dr. Waqar Ahmed, who is a fellow at University of Queensland in Australia, and he has been associated with several projects in Pakistan. The term used is 4 Rs. He will tell us what 4 Rs are. And our final speaker would be our young Ansar Farooq, who is assisting me in the organization of this event. Ansar is affiliated with the Fauji Fertilizer Multan team, and he has served at University of Agriculture, Faisalabad as a system professor. He has a degree from University of Bielefeld in Germany, and he is also one of our star recipients of participation in Pakistani crew and HEC funded PIAS meeting in Germany every year held with Nobel laureates. So with these quick introductions, we'll move on to next presentation. Tariq, do you have another presentation, or we should go for technical presentations now? Tariq Sahib, आपको आवाज आ रही है मेरी? Answer? Are we communicating, or should I invite the next speaker? You're listening?
Yeah, please.
Some of them has connection problem, but okay. Nicole, can you hear me?
I can hear you, yes.
So why don't we start with your presentation?
Okay, I need to be given permission to share my screen.
You can share it, you are allowed.
I'm looking at Munir's screen at the moment.
Okay, your system is not showing screen.
Okay.
You're
I've got
okay,
it now.
Okay, yeah, please do it.
Okay, can everybody see
Yes.
my screen? Great.
Yes.
Okay, fantastic.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Thank you very much. Well, thank you very much for inviting me to speak to this webinar today. I'm delighted that everybody is interested and talking about zinc, because it's a micronutrient that I've been interested in for many, many years. My background is in nutrition, so I'm going to be talking to you from a nutritionist perspective. I'm involved in this study called the Busy Fed study, which is designed to evaluate the potential for biofortified wheat to alleviate zinc deficiency in Pakistan. And it is the first effectiveness study of biofortified wheat in Pakistan. I just wanted to start with some basics, really. Why are we interested in zinc deficiency? As I'm sure all of you will be aware, zinc deficiency is a global problem. About 17% of the world's population is deficient in zinc, and that's according to the WHO. Of course, it is higher in different countries in the world. And if we look specifically at Pakistan and the data that's come from your most recent National Diet and Nutrition Survey, this shows us that around 22% of women and around 17% of children less than 5 years old suffer from zinc deficiency in Pakistan. And this is an average for the country. We know from our own studies that are based in Peshawar, in a very marginalized and rural community living on the brick kilns, We know that the statistics are probably a lot worse than that. From our measurement of plasma zinc concentration, we have found that around 30% of women of childbearing age are zinc deficient based on plasma zinc concentration, and around 70% of adolescent girls are zinc deficient. And of course, the deficiency is higher in adolescent girls because their needs for growth are greater than those than adults. So we can see that it is a major problem in regions around the world, but specifically with a focus on Pakistan in some of the rural marginalized communities. What are the consequences? Well, one of the primary consequences of zinc deficiency in children is stunted growth, and the national survey suggested around 40% of children in Pakistan are stunted. It impairs their growth, their motor development, and their cognitive development as well, having lifelong implications. For women of childbearing age, zinc deficiency can result in complications during pregnancy and childbirth and cause intrauterine growth restriction. And in adults, of course, it impairs the immune function, resulting in increased morbidity. So this clearly has an impact on the individual, on the family, on the community, on the region, and scaling up, if this is replicated around the country, it's going to have a national impact on productivity. What are the solutions? Well, there are a number of ways we can address zinc deficiency. We can give supplements, but this strategy is expensive. It doesn't always reach the most vulnerable and most needed communities. And it is really just putting a sticking plaster on a fundamental problem. The problem doesn't go away with supplementation. It stops while you supplement, but as soon as you stop, the problem comes back again. So we need something that's much more sustainable. Another strategy is fortification of staples, and that's just the addition of the nutrient during the food processing. So that's the addition, for example, of zinc or iron or folate to food, such as flour, at that milling stage. This can be an effective strategy, but only if it is carefully monitored, carefully controlled to ensure the right amount of the nutrients is added to the flour. And it's really only successful if you can reach the entire population. But we know in Pakistan that not all the wheat is milled in central large mills. Much of it is given to the farm workers for payment or kept by the farmers themselves, and is milled at the local mill. And it would be virtually impossible to supply the nutrients to the mill to add to the flour and monitor that to ensure that the right amounts are added across the whole of Pakistan. It would simply just be impractical. So we're looking at biofortification, which is increasing the mineral or vitamin content through crop breeding and/or agronomic techniques. This has the potential to be effective and sustainable. We are working with a crop that has been developed by Harvest Plus. The seeds can be replicated by the farmer. The population does not need to change their dietary patterns. They can continue to eat as normal if they're consuming the biofortified flour made from the grain that has been bred for its ability to concentrate zinc into the grain and enhance with the addition of fertilizers. And this way, the whole population can benefit. So biofortification does have a lot of potential to be cost effective and sustainable. The crop can be grown year on year by the farmers using the seed from the year before. However, there is a paucity of evidence at the moment to show that this strategy can be effective, and that information, that evidence is needed by policymakers for them to make the right decision whether or not to scale up on a population level. And that's what our research is designed to do, is to provide that data, provide that evidence to show whether or not this strategy can be effective in Pakistan. So this is the study we're working on, examining the effectiveness and acceptability of the use of biofortified crops in alleviating micronutrient deficiencies in Pakistan. We've been funded through the UK Global Challenges Research Fund, specifically through the BBSRC, which is one of our research councils that funds this kind of research in universities. We have received two funds so far. The part one was a foundation study, which was completed in 2019. And we are currently in the middle of an extended scaled up study that started in 2019 and will be completed in 2021. One of the principles of our research that I would really like to highlight is that we work in partnership, in equitable partnership, according to the Global Code of Conduct, which informs the way we work with our partners. So our partners include our community members, the participants in our trial. It includes an NGO, the Abyssine Foundation, who is our implementation partner and works very closely with the community. We are working with academic researchers, both in the UK and in Pakistan, a number from both countries. And of course, we are working with biofertilizer companies, specifically with Munizia, who is a co-investigator in our study. We work very closely together, consult with one another, and all the partners are equal, which is part of the success of our project. So what is the BusyFed trial all about? Well, we have 3 work packages. I'm just going to talk very briefly about them in the interest of time. The first work package is a randomized control trial where we are providing both control flour made from Galaxy grain to half of our participants. And we also have a second arm of the RCT where we are providing flour made from Zinc 2016, a Harvest Plus variety, which is high in zinc. It has about twice as much zinc in it compared with Galaxy when we add zinc-rich fertilizer to the crop at various stages. And we are looking to see whether consuming the biofortified flour made from this grain has an impact on zinc status by measuring various biomarkers of zinc status, including plasma zinc concentration, but other novel biomarkers as well, and monitoring growth in children under 5, and also the incidence of diarrhea and upper respiratory tract infections. The second work package is all around investigating how well the crop performs under different levels of organic material and inorganic material in the soil. This is being led by our partners at Nottingham University and Foundry Fertilizer Company, and they're also doing mapping of this soil mineral content across a large region of Pakistan at 720 sites to see how well the crop performs under those different conditions. And thirdly, our third work package is all around perceptions of the consumers, of the farmers, and also engagement with policymakers. There is no point in producing a crop that nobody likes because it doesn't taste right or doesn't perform well in the kitchen, or the farmers don't like because the yield isn't very good. So this work package is all around finding out what the farmers' perceptions are of the crop, what the consumers think of the crop, and also engaging with policymakers to ensure that we are asking the questions that the policymakers need answers to. Often as researchers, we tend to go off on our academic track and think about what's interesting from a scientific perspective. But in this study, we're very keen to answer the questions that policymakers want answers to in order to facilitate the scale up if this strategy appears as though it has some potential. So just some information from our early foundation study. We grew both Galaxy and the Zincol crop, the Zincol 2016 from Harvest Plus, and we analysed the zinc content of both, and were able to confirm that the Zincol grain contains around twice as much zinc as the Galaxy when fertilizer is added to it. And we estimate that this can increase the daily intake by around 4 milligrams per day. This may not seem very much, But actually, when we look at the zinc intake of our participants on the study, we can see that they are only consuming around 4 milligrams a day on their usual diet. So we are effectively doubling their zinc intake by providing this biofortified flour, which is a really important, small but important increase in their zinc intake. We also found from our foundation study that the iron content of the flour is also enhanced. We weren't expecting this. We were only expecting to see the increase in zinc, but we also found that the iron in the Zincol flour was twice as high as the control, which was an unexpected but serendipitous finding. So just very briefly to share where you might be able to find some of the results from our study. I'm just moving this because it seems to be getting in the way. We have published the protocol from our foundation study, which is out there in the BMJ if you want to see exactly how we conducted our research. The results are the foundation work looking at the interaction between the soil conditions and the fertilizer combinations to see which produce the highest enhancement in the zinc content of the grain, has recently been accepted for publication in Frontiers in Sustainable Food Systems. Mani Azir is the first author on that, and that will be out within the next few days. It's been accepted. And we also have a paper that's recently come out. This paper is all about exploring the community perceptions in preparation for our RCT from the current study. And this looks at the fears, the concerns, the thoughts of our participants, our community, around the concept of biofortification and whether or not they are willing to consume these kinds of foods. So that has recently been published too, so that should be widely available now. Ongoing, we are right in the middle now of a 12-month double-blind cluster randomized controlled trial of 500 households. As I mentioned before, half of the households are receiving control flour and half are receiving the biofortified flour. We had to suspend our field operations for a short while during the COVID crisis, but we're back up and running again now, and things are going well. We're focusing on adolescent girls and infants. We grew the wheat locally. The Zincol 2016 was grown locally with support from Fauji Fertilizer Company. And as I mentioned, we're looking at functional as well as biochemical outcomes to see if they improve in response to consuming the biofortified flour. Martin and Munir and the team are doing some geospatial mapping of the crop performance, linking that with the soil nutrient conditions as part of a larger Gates-funded geonutrition project led by Professor Broadley. And we are continuing to engage with the community, but also with farmers to see how the crop is performing under their care, and also with policymakers. We're very keen that our work is disseminated widely to policymakers to help them with their decision-making process. So these are my brief take-home messages. Biofortification of wheat with zinc has the potential to provide a low-cost, sustainable way to increase dietary zinc intake on a population scale. However, much more data are needed to show evidence of its effectiveness, how it performs, and whether it's acceptable to inform the policy going forward. So we are very keen to engage with all of you to share our results as and when we are ready to release them. The trial is ongoing now until February, slightly extended due to the COVID crisis, but by next spring we should have results of our study, and we'll be looking for opportunities to engage with you and with other stakeholders to share our findings and inform policy going forwards. So that's last thing to do is to acknowledge all of the partners that have been involved in this project. Too many to go through one by one, but I'll leave that there for a moment and you can see who they are, and I express my appreciation for the fantastic collaboration that's made this project a success so far.
Nicole, it's extremely impressive. Thank you very much for putting in so much effort in testing our zinc coal. Adaptation of varieties by the farmers is another challenge, which we're also discussing in a separate, under a separate cover. But you are giving the proof of concept, which must be now used to promote the zinc coal or zinc coal type varieties. Or maybe it's a challenge for breeders to fortify all commercial varieties, like you mentioned Galaxy. Why can't Galaxy be zinc coal also? Because zinc coal is a gene which needs to be expressed by popular varieties which are otherwise acceptable to the farmers. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, our next speaker is Dr. Waqar Ahmed, and he will speak about his 4 Rs. Dr. Waqar, over to you. We will have question and answer at the end. Okay, your slides are visible.
Thank you very much for providing me an opportunity to share the lesson learned from a 5-year project. Basically, these were 2 projects, and these projects were implemented under the umbrella of Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations. So I would be talking on 4 Rs in crop production with emphasis on micronutrients, based on the finding of the 2 projects which were implemented by under the umbrella of Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations. Okay, as I indicated earlier that this presentation is based on the findings of the projects. These projects were funded by the United States Department of Agriculture, and these were implemented with collaboration of Ministry of National Food Security and Research, Ministry of Planning, Development and Special Initiatives, Pakistan Agriculture Research Council, Federal, Provincial Agriculture Research, Extension Development Departments, farmer associations, and private sector, particularly the national fertilizer industry. In terms of value or cost, you can say at budget allocation, this won't be much than 150 million Pak rupees. But these 2 projects were declared as the strategic interventions at the end of the FAUN. So the reason was the ripple effect of these projects, and the focus of these projects was on 4R nutrient stewardship. You may have heard about the 4Rs, may have heard in the context of the management, solid management or waste management, in which we have used these 4Rs to indicate reduce, reuse, recycle, recover. But I would be talking about the 4Rs of nutrient stewardship. Basically, these are the 4 rights of the fertilizers or nutrient application, and this is the slogan of International Plants Nutrition Institute. So 4Rs stands for right source of the fertilizer and nutrient, right rate, and the application of right source of nutrient or fertilizer at the right time, and application at the right place. When we talk about the right time, it means that the application of the nutrients, it could be organic source or inorganic source, at the critical crop responsive growth stage. And when we talk about the right place, it means the methodology, method of application of that particular nutrient to increase or enhance the efficiency. Okay, so now I would like to discuss the achievements of these 2 projects. The projects were started from 2013 and finished or completed, you can say, in 2018, December 2018. So for the 5 years, we implemented these projects in all the 4 provinces of Pakistan. For 4 years, we implemented the projects in Punjab and Sindh provinces of Pakistan. And then in last year, we implemented the projects in all the tried and tested activities were performed in KP and Balochistan. So why these projects were given so much importance? The reason was the high ripple effect. when we started implementing the project, the ripple factor was very high. The evidence is that at that time, the agro-fertilizers allocated more money to establish new soil and water testing laboratories. The evidence at the moment is that now they have the mobile laboratories in Pakistan. One of the laboratories is working and functional in Bahawalnagar district of Punjab. Second evidence of the effect was that all the national fertilizer companies started including commodity-based specific 4Rs in the literature. Before that, they were not mentioning adequately the 4Rs in their literature. Although there were some arguments that this 4R is nothing more than the balanced fertilization or the concept of the balanced fertilizer application. But for the balanced fertilization, the more emphasis is given on the right source and right rate. Although right rate is not tested or calculated based on the soil testing testing of the fertilizer, soil testing, previous crop history. So these points were hardly taken into account. And the more focus in the 4R is on right placement and application at the right time. So third important effect of significant effect of the project was the academia was sensitized to include special case studies in syllabus. Academia was also one of the partners or collaborators to implement all these projects. As far as the events were concerned, so we were able to launch a symposium initially in 2015 that was a public-private partnership for managing soil fertility. And we established different GIS laboratories, and we upgraded the reporting system of National Fertilizer Development Center. So we are aware that the National Fertilizer Development Center previously was under the Ministry of Planning, and nowadays National Fertilizer Development Center is working under the umbrella of National Food Security and Research. So when the first bag of the fertilizer was used in Pakistan, the soils of Pakistan, they do have information about since that time up till now. But their reporting system was old, so we were able to update the reporting system. Across different crop production zones of Pakistan, we organized different commodity-based workshops, major crops, fruit crops, and vegetable crops. And we interacted with the farming community to know about what they are applying at farm gate and what they are getting in terms of their output. So in these projects, we made some inputs use assessment at farm gate in all the provinces, especially in major crop production zones. And then we organized an international workshop on 4R nutrient stewardship for food, economic, and environmental security. The president of International Plant Nutrition Institute, Dr. Terry Robert, was invited, and he was excited to see excited to meet with the farmers and share their experiences. He was very glad. And out of these two projects, we were able to develop some 4 soil atlases. And these soil atlases provide a comprehensive account of soil fertility status, district-wise, classification, dominant soil series information, parent material information, native best management practices, fertilizer use trends and respective yields at farm gate, management strategy for resource-based improvement, and key messages were also included for the farming community of Pakistan. You can see, you can download these 2 particular atlases, especially for Punjab and Sindh province, from the link provided. Also, we were able to produce some audio video messages for the farming community on the different aspects of soil fertility issues. And there was a couple of documentaries were also prepared to share the importance of incorporating crop residues into rice feed system. And as far as different reports are concerned, we were able to produce 4 reports out of these projects, and 3 to 4 articles were published. One was published in Plant and Soil, valuing zinc fertilizer used in Pakistan, and that article was given the status of open access with the collaboration of University of Nottingham. One important status report, micronutrient fertilizer used in Pakistan, historical perspective and 4R nutrient stewardship, is under press. Natural Fertilizer Development Center has mandated to conduct research on different aspects of the fertilizers. And there was a report available on the use of micronutrients that was published in 1998. So up till 1998, information is still available in Pakistan on the application of micronutrient, on the historical use of the micronutrients. But post era of 1998 was not having any information. So this report, which I just shared with you, which is on micronutrient fertilizer used in Pakistan, it also includes the 4R nutrient stewardship messages, especially for the micronutrients. This will cover that particular era after post 1998. Second report, which was prepared, was on fertilizer management for sustainable agriculture intensification in case of Pakistan. And third report was on communicating 4R nutrient stewardship for sustainable agriculture growth and crop intensification. And fourth report was published on 4R nutrient stewardship for salt-affected soils. I will endorse and then take the further away the message of the Dr. Ikrar. The problem in the farming community of Pakistan, information is available, but the problem is the adoption, acceptability issue is the main one. So that's why we thought that we should be producing a report on how to communicate the message of 4R nutrient stewardship for the adoption for sustainable agriculture growth and crop intensification. Okay, so this was the information on the achievements and the progress made in the two projects which were implemented until December 2018. But now, after 2018, the 4R nutrient stewardship has been replaced by 4R plus. So what is this 4R plus? This 4R plus is the 4R nutrient stewardship practices plus the conservation practices. So target here is improved yield, soil health, and water quality. Although when we started implementing the concept of 4R nutrient stewardship in Pakistan, so we were already having in our mind that we, along with the principle of the 4R, we would give a weightage to the conservation practices. But now the trend has been changed, and exclusively the scientific community is focusing on conservation practices as well. So they are dealing separately the 4R nutrient stewardship practices and also the conservation practices. Similarly, when we used to talk about the food security, then the different components, food availability, food accessibility, food stability, resilience, and food utilization, along with nutritional value, our nutritional aspect, our quality produce, were taken into account. So this was a full package which was included in food security. But as the trend has been changed, the 4Rs have been replaced by the 4R plus. Now, this aspect of food security has been changed, and the focus has been on to the nutritional security more. So the research published in Nature, Food Nature, and other literature reviewed indicates that the nutritional security could be given more weightage than the food security. So now focus is on food security and also on the nutrition security. We are much more concerned about nowadays nutrition. And other evidence is that the 2030 Agenda of Sustainable Development and the United Nations Decade of Action on Nutrition, which was starting from 2016 to 2025, calls on all countries to join hands to end hunger and prevent all forms of malnutrition by 2030. Hence, achieving nutritious food production for all has become a priority. And this is the priority and the utmost challenge faced by the humanity nowadays. That's why the people or scientific community is targeting and they are trying to introduce more and more interventions and technologies to address the issue of this malnutrition. As the opening remarks, our friend indicated that there is a malnutrition issue, and the zinc especially plays a very important role in the metabolism process of the human body. Stunted growth is also possible, and some other harmful impacts are possible with the deficiency. So now focus is on food nutrition security. Okay, so in the light of the lesson, in the light of the findings, you can say, I would like to share some lessons learned. One, I indicated earlier that there was only one report available from National Fertilizer Development Center on the micronutrients that was published in 1998 that indicated that there are the indicated that there is the deficiency of the zinc basically is more prevalent. But the post-era or post-1998 research is confirming that there are the deficiencies of economic significance, and these are limited to not only to zinc, these are limited to zinc, boron, and iron now. So the extent and severity of zinc and boron deficiencies appear to be almost equal. Undoubtedly, research information of boron is still less than for zinc. Okay, so now talking about the interventions. So one of the interventions, fortification, biofortification, and other economic techniques have been discussed by the earlier speaker. So I would be talking and focusing on the 4R nutrient stewardship and application of micronutrients using the principles of 4Rs. So we found after reviewing literature, and soon before the December 2020, you would see in the form of report that zinc concentration in wheat grains could be increased if we apply 2 foliar sprays of 0.32% zinc sulfate that contains 33% zinc solution. And the first spray must be applied 1 week prior to heading, and the second spray 1 week after heading stage. This foliar supplementation strategy is in addition to the soil applied recommended dose of zinc. So by adopting these practices and by doing these sprays, we can increase the zinc concentration in the grains of wheat, in wheat grains. Talking about this, the previous slide was also relevant to the wheat, and this is also the same thing, I would say. If we talk about the 4R packages for the zinc, particularly for wheat crop, then we can say 5 kg zinc per hectare as a source of zinc sulfate. If this is broadcasted, applied to the field area prior to crop sowing. So it includes clearly source, rate, time, and method. So this is equally important to increase the zinc grain density. And if we focus on the foliar sprays, so the concentration should be 0.5% zinc sulfate. That should contain our 0.32% solution. First foliar spray 1 week prior to crop heading, and the second 1 week after the heading. So similarly for the rice crop, so we have reviewed and we have extracted the information based on the trials conducted across Pakistan that for rice commodity, zinc enriched rice nursery, 20 kg zinc per hectare nursery area application is effective as zinc sulfate is effective. So broadcast applied to nursery beds prior to seed sowing is effective. It could increase the production. It could also increase the zinc concentration, which is required nowadays. And zinc fertilization of entire field area, 5 kg zinc per hectare as zinc sulfate broadcasted applied to puddled field prior to nursery transplanting is also effective. And the main emphasis is that the easier to practice and economical method is use of zinc enriched nursery basically. And the soil application of the micronutrient, especially zinc and also the boron, has some residual effect. So this is also beneficial for the next crop. In case of cotton crop, 5 kg zinc per hectare as zinc sulfate broadcast applied to the field area prior to raised bed formation and crop sowing, or 3 foliar sprays of 0.1% zinc solution as zinc sulfate of these intervals, 45, 60, and 90 days after cotton sowing. These are much more important, and these could be considered as the packages, 4R package for the cotton crop. In terms of for maize, basically 5 kg zinc as zinc sulfate, broadcast application to the field area prior to ridge formation and crop sowing. So this is the 4R package for maize. With this, I would like also to acknowledge the Food and Agriculture Organization of the Pakistan, Rome, Pakistan Agriculture Research Council, United States Department of Agriculture, United States Agency for International Development, Pakistan Academy of Sciences, National Fertilizer Development Center, NFDC, Body Fertilizer Company Limited, Research, Development, Extension, and Information Wings of Pakistan. Thank you very much for your attention.
Another very impressive presentation. Thank you, Dr. Waqar. You have mentioned about spray applications as well as soil applications for all major crops grown in Pakistan. I'm not a soil chemist, but I happen to work with zinc and manganese. You have shown relationship in wheat with no, actually Nicole has shown relationship between zinc and iron, and I remember similar relationship used to be used to exist in California citrus between zinc and manganese, and one of the underlying factor was soil salinity and pH. And you have also made a mention of soil salinity. So it's a quite complex issue. But anyway, your 4 hours and very impressive data that you have presented. We move on to next speaker, and next speaker is Ansar Farooq, and he will present his work going on under FFC Multan. Ansar. Answer? Yeah, please go ahead. Okay, unmute yourself. Is audio? Answer, unmute your audio. You are not audible. Your sound input, maybe. Okay, I think you are now.
Can you hear me now, sir?
Yes, now it's okay.
Okay, okay. So I'm going to talk about. I'm going to talk about zinc nutrition, shedding some light on the discovery and history, how it came into establishing essentiality of zinc in animals, humans, or in plants, and how it really actually interfere in different cellular processes in plants as well as in the human beings. So actually the story all started about the essentiality of zinc for life when it was first discovered or reported by Rowland in 1869, who was the student of Louis Pasteur, and he reported that zinc is essential for Aspergillus niger, that is a fungus and causes blackwood in grapes and other crops. And then the work on zinc essentiality started in different fields, where the first report about the plants that actually came into the media in 1914, reporting the essentiality of zinc about maize. And in 1919, the first report on zinc essentiality for animals was reported, and that was by 1960s essential for the higher animals. But the work on zinc essentiality for humans, that actually started with the work of Ananda S. Prasad in 1958, when he was appointed right after his PhD in a Saudi hospital in Iran, where he was presented with a case from the of Iranian farmer who was 21-year-old, but the symptoms he showed he looked like a 10-year-old boy. He had hypogonadism, rough skin, and he, interestingly, there was geophagia, that he used to eat clay, half kilogram clay per day. It was a routine matter in Shiraz, Iran, where people were eating clay. So he started working on that patient, and initially it was suspected that it's caused by iron, but later on, after detailed investigation on that Iranian farmer and similar other cases that was presented to him when he moved to Egypt, he identified that zinc deficiency, that problem is basically caused by zinc deficiency, and this led to the essentiality of zinc. Zinc was recognized as essential element for the human beings. What actually does zinc in the human beings? Now, a lot of research has been done in the last 5 decades, and the increasing evidence indicates that the transporter-mediated zinc contributes to the control of several intracellular events in the human body, and that includes the discovery of around 2,000 transcription factors that are basically involved in the control of gene expression. And then there were identified around 300 enzymes that also require zinc for their activity. And the most interestingly, where I would also connect my PhD work with that evidence, that the recent reports suggested that it has very important role as an antioxidant and anti-inflammatory agent, because the oxidative stress and the chronic inflammations they are important contributive factors in several types of chronic diseases. So when zinc is present, there are several proteins in the human, and later I will tell about plants, that there are several proteins. They take that, they are activated and help to protect plants under such type of oxidative stress. These are few of the figures from my PhD thesis, where I was working with Professor Carl Joseph Diess, who is still the president of German Botanical Society. Our hypothesis started with work on rice, where we stressed rice with cadmium, and we selected a number of genes, and initially we wanted to check their expression and the different treatments, where the cadmium stress was the main focus. And from the response pattern that we received from that study, we found that there are 4 different type of response patterns received, where the group 1 pattern shown here on the left side, that is indicated by the heat map, that there are 7-8 genes that are strongly upregulated by the cadmium stressor, and among them that were identified as subs. If we name them, they are called stress-associated proteins. Sub 1 and sub 14. These out of the 18-member family of subs proteins. Actually, zinc finger proteins, when they're in their domains, they have that are called A20 or AN1 domains, and they bind zinc to regulate their activity. And the most interesting thing, or the finding that we had, that these are redox-sensitive proteins. That means when there is a oxidative stress to the plant, zinc is released from the zinc binding fingers, and that lead to the oligomerization of that protein, and then that protein take role as redox sensor proteins, where the antioxidative enzymes that we usually measure in our studies, they are already overwhelmed, and the redox sensitive proteins, they were already playing their important role and helping plants to fight the cadmium stress. And this is also shown by here, the Western blot analysis of the proteins on the top of the figure, where the reductant DTT, when it was to the recombinantly and purified proteins were treated with DTT, they were in the monomer form, and when there was this oxidative stress in the form of hydrogen peroxide, they immediately attain higher molecular weight size and become tetramer. So we continued our investigations on these proteins, and that's what we did. I isolated the plant cell and removed the cell wall that are called the protoplast, and cloned them as yellow fluorescent proteins, and I identified that these proteins are basically localized in the nucleus, and then we were further interested to check that what are their interaction partners, and through yeast to hybrid assay we identified that there is a protein named CML49 that is the calcium binding protein that bind with all members of rice subfamily, particularly sub1 and sub14, and that was confirmed through FRET under the confocal laser scanning electron microscopy as well as in the yeast through the X-gal assay. And that provided us evidence that the ROS or redox sensitive proteins and the calcium binding proteins, these are the two most important signaling molecules either in plants as well as both in plants as well as in the human body, that they bind and help the plants to fight the cadmium stress. So the similar observations has been reported in the human, that it act as the zinc binding capacity of different proteins, or zinc act as play a protective antioxidant role and help them to fight different type of oxidative stresses responsible for different type of the chronic diseases. So this is how actually zinc is playing role in the human body, or the evidence from my PhD thesis and also in the plant cell. So from that discovery, starting from that discovery and history of zinc essentiality for the humans, till now, in the last 5 decades, the clinical spectrum has about the zinc deficiency has really emerged, and zinc deficiency is now reported as the 5th major cause of different type of diseases and deaths in the human beings. If we go about the manifestations of the severe zinc deficiency, and they include the immune suppression and the consequent frequent infections in the human body. That include bullous pustular dermatitis, that there are several water-filled blisters in the armpit and several other places of the human body, and it also causes problems with the healing of ulcers. Similarly, the moderate manifestations of the moderate zinc deficiency, it causes growth retardation and delayed puberty in adults, hypogonadism in males, as that was identified in also the Iranian farmer by Ananda Prasad, and rough skin, poor appetite, and mental lethargy. So these are the well-identified deficiency symptoms of the severe and moderate zinc deficiency. But in case of mild zinc deficiency, it's slightly difficult. But there are some reports that are indicating that decreased immunity, impaired state and taste and smell, onset of night blindness, decreased spermatogenesis. These are the consequences of the mild zinc deficiency in the human being. So moving on, as Nicola has in her presentation talking about the essentiality and her work on humans, it is the report of the WHO that the recent estimates are telling us that around 2 billion people are suffering from the nutritional zinc deficiency, and that is principally caused by the consumption of cereals in many countries that contain high phytate contents, and that lead to the malabsorption of the zinc by the human body. Similarly, several other reasons in resource-poor countries like Pakistan, the insufficient intake, increased loss, as well as the impaired utilization, they are the major contributor toward the causes of zinc deficiency across the globe. So if we move specifically about the data or status of zinc deficiency in Pakistan, the National Nutrition Survey conducted by the Planning Commission of Pakistan in 2018, they have reported that stunting, or that we call the growth retardation, it is the major problem in Pakistan, with 12 million children having low height over their weight. And this the survey report indicate that 40.2% children, that means 4 out of 10 children are stunted due to malnutrition, majorly in the KPK province, as Nicola has talked about that severity of that issue in our KPK province. Similarly, 10 million children, they suffer from chronic diseases. Annually 180,000 deaths occur due to malnutrition and associated disorders, and 53.7% of Pakistani children having age of less than 5 years, they are really anemic. but that talking about specifically the zinc deficiency, 18.6% children, according to National Nutrition Survey 2018 report, they are zinc deficient with slightly higher prevalence in the rural population. So this is the major, the problem major behind that zinc deficiency is human, is the vital link that soil, plant, and human nurses provide. It is actually based on the prevalence of zinc deficiency in soils of Pakistan, as you can see in the map here on the left-hand side, that there are many countries that are zinc deficient, that their soils are deficient in zinc, and Pakistan also stands among those countries where zinc deficiency is a major issue, and that is also has been confirmed by the micronutrient analysis reports of for the fertilizer company that we identified that 85% soils of the Pakistan they are severely deficient. And we try to have a geographical overlap. The geographical overlap with the problem or extent of zinc deficiency in human, it is found that zinc deficiency is a major problem, particularly in those countries where zinc is deficient in soils, leading to zinc deficiency in plants, and ultimately that is translated into the human body. So how to fight that? The strategies reported to fight that zinc malnutrition, they actually are, there are 4 major strategies that are talked about. They can be either through the zinc supplement, that's not really a sustainable approach. It can be either through dietary diversification, that people should include diversified kind of food in their diet, including red meat and also fish, that are the rich sources of zinc. But the data suggests that 67% of the Pakistani population, they cannot afford it. So dietary diversification is again ruled out. So fortification and biofortification, these are the next strategies, and among them biofortification offers us a more cost-effective and a sustainable approach to fight that zinc deficiency in resource poor countries like Pakistan, where with low dietary diversity, and but the success all depends also on the adaptation by the local people. So I am looking forward with these few thoughts and few data figures and data that I have presented. I am looking forward to our next presenter, Dr. Munizia. He will more specifically talk about the biofortification. And I thank you all for your kind patience. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ansar. Now we move on. You have given us quite a bit of dose of science on zinc deficiency. Let's move on to our last speaker of this evening, Dr. Munir Zia. He will speak about his zincated urea application and his experience with zinc science in the Pakistani soils. Dr. Munir Zia. Yeah, okay. Yes, you are visible. Please go ahead. Huh? Unmute yourself. Unmute yourself.
Okay, sorry. So this is regarding soil to grain to human transfer of zinc. That is BusyFed project. Nicola already introduced about the project and its various work phases. That was work phase 1, 2, and 3. And we with 4G fertilizer especially focused on work package 2. In this presentation, I would be covering broader areas of zinc deficiency in soils and cereals across the country, and then geospatial mapping of zinc and scale at Pakistan scale, that is for the first time, and then zinc fertilizer use in Pakistan, and then its economic outcome if we use the zinc fertilizer. And then another aspect about zinc biofortified wheat, its performance in Pakistan that we evaluated across the country, and then conclusion. I will try my best to complete my presentation within the next 8 minutes. So regarding the issue that how our grains got lower in zinc, if we go back before 1960, before introduction of the Green Revolution, everyone can observe if on the right side of the screen, that is figure A and then figure C, that with after 1960s, crop yields increased quickly because of the improved varieties. But at the same time, micronutrients got diluted. So that is the reason for high yielding varieties, we got diluted micronutrients that were low in zinc. So now there is a solution for every problem. So at the end, ultimately, after few decades, Harvest Plus is working whether while maintaining the crop yield, how we can also increase zinc and other micronutrients in crops. That is Harvest Plus project being run in the country. So across the country, if we see the literature review, that is zinc deficient sites in the country. This is based on literature review, like the scientists carry out analysis based on their research in fields as well as through some survey work. So on an average, more than half of the country's soils are deficient in zinc. And this seems to be more prominent in case of Balochistan and Sindh compared to Punjab. So regarding our Fauji fertilizer position of agronomists that we call agri-territories, if we work at scale, then we can see that zinc deficiency is widespread across the country, and you can see in different regions if there are soils that are rich in zinc, that is more than 1 ppm, there are also soils that are deficient in zinc. So it means all across the country, zinc deficiency is prevailing, and there are also some farmers that are applying zinc, and zinc is in sufficient quantity in those soils. So if we go through interpolation through co-kriging technique, we can interpolate this data. So through this map at country scale, you can see that only Eastern Punjab soils, light blue color if you focus on, so they are rich in zinc. That is the rice belt of Pakistan, and farmers are already educated that if they don't apply zinc, there would be visible effect on the crop. So that might be the reason they are applying zinc. So at almost all other places, the soils are deficient in zinc across the country. So there is need of solution like some zinc fertilizer or alternate strategy like introduction of biofortified crops or some other solution. So regarding zinc fertilizer use in Pakistan, based on previous data of 2013 and 14 available with NFDC, I calculated the data on district basis, that is zinc sale data actually. If we divide this data with the wheat acreage in the country, we can see that there are certain districts in Punjab and few districts in Sindh where there is a high sale of zinc. There are many districts where there is very low zinc per hectare being used, and the recommended 5 kg per hectare use is only seen to be in the central, southern Punjab. That is only one district, that is DG Khan. So zinc fertilizer use efficiency, when we recommend zinc fertilizer, we measure its efficiency from 3 perspectives. One is the agronomist perspective, that how much kg of grain is harvested per kg addition of zinc. That is in Pakistan, that is in the range of almost 45 to 90 kg grain that could be harvested with 1 kg application of zinc. That means if soil is deficient and farmer applies zinc, there is some benefit. From soil sciences perspective, there is apparent recovery. That is only 1 to 3%, almost 1.7 to 2.6% within range. That the crop uptake is only that portion of the total applied zinc. So it means that through mass balance approach, there are only few studies like Rafiq et al. And some few others, that through mass balance approach, we see 98% zinc that remains unutilized for that specific year, but it does not mean that is not available to the succeeding crops. It is available to the next 4 to 6 crops. But in case of rice, there is an exception because of the flooding condition. There is a competition for crop uptake of zinc when it is compared with iron. So farmers have to apply every year zinc fertilizer. From economist perspective, there is a value cost ratio that with every rupee invested, farmers can harvest 4 rupees additional, as an additional for every rupee invested on zinc fertilizer. Regarding health and disability adjusted life years, so there is estimated through one of our study that Waqar also mentioned that almost 245,000 disability adjusted life years are lost in Punjab and Sindh, and full adoption of zinc fertilizers, that even alone in case of Punjab province, that would be returning almost 405 to almost 1,200 international $1 million. That is through better health of our consumers and then better performance in the national GDP. That is the reason, and this paper clearly cut indicates that there is need to consider zinc fertilizer at policymaker scale, and even if government has to consider to provide subsidy to the zinc fertilizer, like India, they should consider this subsidy because there is a clear evidence through this research. And then regarding baseline and progress for SDG 3, that for which government of Pakistan is also committed. If you see the previous national nutrition surveys of 2011, 15, or recent one, 2018, 19, you will see there is a lot of improvement in case of zinc, in case of iron and iodine. But at the end, if the critical parameter that is stunting in growth, that is negative. It means something is still fishy there. Either the parameters are not being tested efficiently in transparent manner, or there's something wrong. That is the, otherwise there should also be improvement in case of stunting in the kids, something, because if there is a deficiency of zinc and iron, there is definitely low IQ of the kids, and there is a health care issues and so many other. So in case there is improvement in all other parameters, why the National Nutrition Survey is not showing the improvement in case of stunting in the country? So there are many question marks at this parameter. So regarding another approach that I discussed earlier, that is Harvest Plus approach, that is country specific crop profile. They have selected, like in India, they are focusing on high zinc rice and high zinc wheat, and then also pearl millet, that is zinc and iron. In Bangladesh, they are only focusing on high zinc rice, and in Pakistan, they focused on high zinc wheat, and there is already one variety released, that is Zinc Gold 2016. And during our BusyFed project, we had the chance to test this biofortified wheat, that is zinc gold performance, across 3 types of criteria, that is like zinc deficient fields, medium zinc fields, and then zinc rich fields. And we have observed that this variety was performing only in zinc rich fields. So it means its performance is site specific, and there might be some other factors that need to be evaluated at scale. And for that, we are also working, but it was supposed that this variety should also be working at low zinc, for which originally it was meant to be bred, but it is not performing in low zinc soils. So alternately, there is another way that farmer may apply foliar fertilizers. So that is the quick way to enrich greens with zinc and other micronutrients as well. So regarding the influence of other farm practices and soil geochemistry in the background, so our BusyFed 2 project, that it's work package 2, we have collected soils and grains across Punjab at almost 2,880 locations. And 1/4 of these locations, they were grown with zinc rich wheat, that is zinc or biofortified wheat, to see how farm practices like organic input or any other fertilizer practices and background soil geochemistry could be interlinked with its performance, and we could have clear-cut evidence how farmers could get benefit from this biofortified wheat in Pakistan. So in conclusion, zinc deficiency is widespread in calcareous soils in the country, and only eastern Punjab soils of Pakistan that seem to have sufficient zinc. That is the rice region, rice belt. And high yielding cereal varieties alongside calcareous soils are root cause of low zinc in greens. Most of the zinc fertilizer is applied to the soil gets fixed, but it is available to succeeding crop for almost 4 to 6 succeeding crops. So that is not an issue, its availability. Then performance of biofortified wheat, as explained earlier, that is site specific, and we are going through further investigations to verify how farm practices can affect its performance. And then based on all this evidence, there is need of zincated urea to be introduced in the country. And the major reason is why we focus on urea, because almost every farmer is using nitrogen as urea. So if zinc is quoted as a micronutrient over this urea fertilizer, then definitely every farmer would be applying zinc. And there is already success story of selenium deficiency in Finland, where they only added almost, I think, 10 gram selenium in zinc fertilizer, in urea fertilizer bags, and there is no more selenium deficiency in Finland. And thank you so much. If there is any question, I am available.
Thank you, Dr. Munir Zia. Again, very impressive empirical evidence. Answer, you wanted to show something at the end of this presentation. Please go ahead.
Okay. Okay, Dr. Saab, I will try to share this movie with you, if that permits us.
थोड़ा सा दबाया था ले मैंने वही में है
Thank you, FFC. Of course, you are a commercial company, so you need to run your commercial. We are running out of time. Before I request Dr. Kausar Malik to conclude the session, there are two pertinent comments made in the chat box. One is by Asif Kamran, that he's an economist, and he says that the marginal benefit of doing zinc deficiency is not in favor of farmers, so there is subsidy required to promote zinc application. And then there is Dr. Asghar's comment that spray is not going to be effective. I would ask both of them one by one to make brief explanation of what they mean, and then we will move on to Dr. Malik. So Asif, you are first. Asif Kamran. Asif, are you there?
Yes, thank you very much. Am I audible?
Asif, yeah, you are audible. Please go ahead.
Thank you, sir. You know, for a new intervention to be economically feasible, its marginal benefit should be more than its marginal cost from the producer's perspective. And for the consumer, its perceived benefits should be more than its perceived cost. If I want to eat a zinc fortified wheat, then I should first perceive that its benefits I am getting from this is more to pay for higher price for that. But you know, as it is a classical public policy issue, either consumer is not aware about the benefits or the producer does not get proper price for his intervention with a fortified or better quality produce, then there is a case for government intervention to justify its investment in subsidy through the Delhi, which Dr. Munizia very rightly mentioned. Thank you very much.
Okay, your point is well taken. Dr. Asghar, why you think that spray is not going to work when every crop is being sprayed?
Bismillah Rahman Rahim.
Yeah,
Sir, I have conducted the trials on wheat varieties, various wheat varieties. I have conducted the trials in my region at Gujranwala. But after the analysis, we found that the concentration of the zinc was, there was not very much difference before and after the spray of the zinc. Secondly, the farmers are very reluctant to spray the zinc when it is at heading stage. They think that this will damage the crop at this stage if we enter the crop for spraying for the 2 times. Thirdly, as my one colleague has mentioned, that after the spray or by use of the zinc variety or biofortified zinc varieties, they don't get the price as required in the market. So I think the only solution is the genetic engineering or biofortified varieties which have sufficient quantity of the zinc, so that the zinc deficiencies which we assume cause certain problems in stunting growth of the children. If such varieties are found, we can recover that zinc deficiency in our population. Thirdly, if we apply the zinc in rice area, I am working there, there is always sufficiency of the zinc in rice zones. Even then, we have to apply the zinc in each season in every crop to make the sufficiency of the zinc available to the crop. One of my colleagues was discussing that at the basal dose, it will be available for the 3 years to the crop. But this is not the actual situation. We have to apply the zinc each and every time to every crop, because I have read somewhere that the zinc become unavailable in that zone due to some reactions. I am not soil scientist, I am an entomologist. The zinc become unavailable, become in unavailable form, and plants are remain unable to use that zinc. Somebody may tell the situation or actual situation. What is the fate of the zinc in the rice zone? Why we are applying the zinc again and again? Because the zinc in the rice is the rice crop requires zinc only 500 grams, wherever we recommend 5 kg zinc every crop every year. As far as the wheat crop is concerned, we have conducted the trials under the adaptive research, but the reliable results are the results which can be discussed to everyone. I recommend the spray of the zinc. I can't recommend the spray of the zinc as far as the zinc deficiency and recovery by spraying is concerned.
Thank you.
At this time, I am out of station and I have.
Okay, thank you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this has been a data-loaded session. We have been presented with a lot of evidence, data that zinc is a challenge and potential solutions. Of course, we can disagree to different solutions, but at the end of the day, we need a solution. With this quick capping, I request Dr. Kausar Abdullah Malik to close the session with his word of wisdom. Malik Saab, sir, over to you.
Thank you. Can you all hear me?
Yes, sir. You are audible and visible.
Okay, thank you so much. I would like to thank especially Dr. Iqrar Ahmed Khan for organizing these webinars. He has been organizing these number of these earlier as well. And I'm sorry I couldn't attend the earlier ones, but this was, the topic was a little bit more to my heart. And, you know, and I must congratulate all my young colleagues, you know, who have been presenting their work. And this was, believe me, it was kind of a music to my ears, you see, you know. I mean, I was so happy to hear so much about biofortification and things like that. And I would like to request or invite all of you to visit sometime FC College, because they have been doing a lot of work in exactly this area. And briefly, if I'm allowed, I can explain to you the kind of work that we are doing and what is our approach. You see, my love affair with fortification and all that is about 3 decades old. You see, when we have this micronutrient initiative, MI, here, which was a Canadian, I think, sponsored, and then it was GAIN and all that. And I had a lot of interaction with all of them, and I was arguing all the time that all these fortifications cannot solve the problem, because our population, who majority of them lives in villages, and also in the cities, they do not generally take atta from the mill. You see, you know, they have their own chakis, and their fortification is not possible. So there has to be a mechanism whereby you can develop some more sustainable approach, you see, and that sustainable approach is definitely the biofortification, you see. But you see, please hear with me. Your approach is for the health of the plant, you see, and which is also very important, you see, because even there, I was working in NIAB, and NIAB had been a pioneer in introducing micronutrient as a fertilizer. You see, at that time, my colleagues were working on zinc micronutrient fertilization of rice. You see, if you remember, in the beginning, we were having at the time of transplanting, we could soak the roots in a solution of zinc sulfate as a method of. I don't know. Now you have gone on to the foliar and things like that. That's fine, but that all is for the health of the plant. See, initially, and that was not so much to do with the health of the consumers. You see, you know, and which is important. You see, the health of the plant is as important as health of humans. You see, but you should keep in mind that even if you increase the micronutrient level in the plant, there is no assurity it will be available to humans, you see. You know, because one of the factors, I think it was mentioned only once by one of my colleagues here, that you have to look at the concentration of phytates. Phytate is a compound which is a phosphorus compound, and it has got a lot of chelation. It absorbs a lot of micronutrients, you see, and phytates are not consumed, are not digested in our body. So all the absorbed and the chelated micronutrients pass out as such, you see, you know. So you have to understand whether it is zincol or anything that you develop through plant breeding or through, you say, through agronomic practices, that has to be bioavailable. And bioavailability is the basis of all that. I'm sure Dekola would also agree that these are the factors which we have to incorporate in our studies. You see, to do a lot of effort in increasing the micronutrient status level of the plant, but you don't do anything to demonstrate whether all that is bioavailable to the plant or not. We have been doing our work on these lines. We published our first paper in transgenic research on wheat, and that was supported by the Punjab Agriculture Research Board. And we demonstrated that by introducing a phytase gene, which is to be expressed in the endosperm under the endosperm specific promoters, that will degrade part of the phytase to release all the micronutrients absorbed, especially zinc and iron. We were focusing on these two micronutrients, zinc and iron, and we have shown that we can increase threefold bioavailable amount, you see, you know. And we have done that by creating artificial environment of our gut, you see. And then also we had gone up to the chapati. We had made the chapati out of that, and then done all the work on bioavailability. And I can show you. I'm sorry, you know, I didn't know that the scientific content of these eating. Otherwise, I could have also shown you all our results. But I can send you the paper, the published paper. Everything is published, you see, and that is an important. I think I have got nothing against zinc oil, you see, because zinc oil is supported by Harvest Plus, an international body, and they have all the wherewithal to create all the awareness and all that. We have, I mean, our National Biosafety Committee has approved this for field trials, and we are now in the process of doing field trials, because as you understand, in genetic engineering and transgenic business, the number of seeds has to be multiplied. And so anyway, so this is an approach I would request, because now, as far as I know, in majority of the good plant breeding activities, the content of phytate is one of the important factors. You see, you can select varieties on the basis of their phytate content. You see, if the phytic acid or phytates are less, those varieties are more amenable to increased bioavailability. You see, you know. So, I mean, these are the areas where we would like our scientists to go, you know, to find out. And there is a lot of work, especially in rice, being done at NIAB to look at the low phytate varieties, you know, and so that is one important thing, you see. And just I mean, I'm grateful to FFC for giving this opportunity to address so many scientists and so many people who are in the field. And I would also like to make some, you know, to explain to you the kind of work that we are doing. We are also, in addition to this, we are also have incorporated vitamin B6 into wheat, because vitamin B6 is another very important nutritional component, you see. And also there was a slide, somebody saying that it is not food security, it is the nutritional security. I think, please, it will dilute the impact. Food security contains, I mean, the definition of the food security is based on the nutritional food which is available to the people to maintain their healthy and active lifestyle, you see. So nutrition is part of food security. So there is no need to have a bandwagon of the nutritional security, you see. I mean, food security is comprehensive. It must include the nutrition, and that's why, according to the survey, Pakistani population is nearly 50% insecure, food insecure. Why? Because of the definition of the food security. You see, so these are some of the things. And the other things that we are trying to do or have done are because you are all basically a fertilizer, urea, nitrogen fertilizer making company, we have developed, introduced genes to increase the fertilizer, nitrogen fertilizer uptake, you see, because as you all know that agronomically, optimum is 30 to 40% uptake of nitrogen. Pest remains in the soil or is immobilized or is volatilized or whatever, you see. But the uptake from your applied fertilizer is only between 30 to 40%, you see. So if by making some genetic modification, if we could increase that amount of fertilizers, it will be an immense impact. And that we have confirmed that by using N15 fertilizer as well, you see, N15 labeled fertilizer, you see. So those are the things which are upcoming, and those are very important. And therefore, I would request the industry to keep an eye on it, you see, because that can be a game changer, you see, And so, and there are so many other things that we're trying to do on the herbicide tolerance also in wheat. So we have taken wheat as our main important crop. We have developed the atrazine tolerant wheat as well, you see, because glyphosate and all that are becoming obsolete now. I mean, because a lot of weeds are developing resistance against those, and you see, so we have developed those as well. And then we do a lot of work on biofertilizers and all the plant growth promoting bacteria, and we have been giving it to the industry as well. And we have arrangements with other industries to give them our gene constructs so that they can transform the plant at their site, and we provide them. And that's what we have been doing for heat tolerance, for herbicide tolerance, and for salt tolerance, you see. So anyway, so these are some of very interesting things that this is my second life, you see, after doing all that in the government and all that. And so now I'm 100% in academia. And I would request all of you to, whenever you visit Lahore or come to Lahore, you should, and Ticola, especially to you, who should visit us. We have a lot of common interests, you see, and I will send you our articles also, or anyone, I will take addresses from Ikrar, and I will send you all those. And, best of luck. And I for one, have thoroughly enjoyed. I mean, I never expected this to be so well scientific, and all my young colleagues who have been part of all these international working, that was excellent, and I wish them all best of luck. And thank you once again, Ikrar. Keep up the good work, you see, and we will be following you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We're encouraged, and let me tell you, sir, that we have done so far 6 events, and after every event, we went convinced that we are not short of knowledge and research, and the young teams are extremely competent. But somewhere there's a lack of implementation. Okay, before we close, I would like to mention that there are 2 immediately relevant events planned. Next week, we will have an event on balanced use of fertilizer. And on 29th of September, we will have a mega event on salinity. The DG of ICBA from Dubai shall be our keynote speaker. And then in October, inshallah, we'll come back to human nutrition again, and I'm expecting a big event on nutrition again. But the audience in today's event would be probably interested in the next 2 events which I've just mentioned. On the 12th, balanced use of fertilizer, and on 29th, salinity. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. God bless.
Thank you, sir. Sir, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.